And my name is Anita Kava. I'm a professor in the Business Law Department, and with my colleague here, Dr. Ken Goodman, we co-direct the University of Miami ethics programs. I'm really happy to see you here all today. I promised on my Business Law 212 class that we would be out by 6, and so we're going to start right now. Let me just say a quick word about the UM ethics programs and the wonderful ARST initiatives that enable us to bring resources and wonderful professors like Professor Mayer to campus. UM ethics programs has been working on campus to provide service, education, and research in areas across all disciplines in ethics for how many years now? Oh, 20 years. It seems like this. As part of what we do, we sponsor research, the ARST Ethics in Community Research Projects, and you should know that these are intended to promote student-faculty collaborations, and some wonderfully generous stipends have been awarded to student-faculty teams to do research on ethics and community, broadly defined. So if you have any interest, please come around and say hello to me, and maybe we can get you to get a faculty member interested and provide some summer research support. Philanthropist and businesswoman Adrienne Arsht has enabled us to invite visiting scholars to campus, and our first Arsht scholar in ethics is Professor Don Mayer, who's here to talk to us today about ethics and contracting. Let me just say that he got his law degree from Duke and an LLM in international law from Georgetown. He's currently professor in residence at the Daniels School of Business in Denver University. And he's also taught around the world in various MBA programs in ethics and business law. I'm sure you're going to find him a wonderful speaker, an interesting resource, and he's on campus until the 10th. If you'd like to find him, his office is on the 4th floor of the new business school building, and he really enjoys speaking with students. So, with a very short little introduction, because I want to make sure we do get out on time, let me ask, please help me welcome Don Mayer.
Thank you very much, Anita. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Adrienne Arsht. Thank you for coming today, one and all. I have to put my glasses on here. There will be kind of a, I'll describe it as a handout. In preparation for this talk, someone said, you know, you really need to talk about ethics and contracting because 212 is all about contracts. So I looked at your book and I started thinking about it, and about a week ago I started putting together a pretty, I thought it was going to be short, but it wound up to be 43 pages. This will be available to you on Blackboard in a day or two. I'm going to just reference occasionally, this will be in the handout so that we can get to where we're going. I'd like to try to finish by about 20 till 6 so that we have time for questions. That probably means it'll be more like a quarter till. So there will be a handout of sorts available to you in the Blackboard for your course. Now, I was going to start with a joke because when I was in the Air Force, they always said you begin with a joke. And I racked my brain. I even went on Google and looked for a good contract joke. The only one I know is actually way too long to tell, but let's do a little unilateral contracting here. I have $10, and at quarter till 6, if anyone has a, quote, really good contracts joke, they can accept the offer and get $10. So think about that for the next 40 minutes. I'll let you tell the joke and get $10. But the vote will be, how will we know if it's a good contracts joke? Worthy of the $10 as the consummation of the unilateral contract. Any ideas? 15. Yes, sir. We'll do the old laugh-o-meter. Yeah. And you know, if it seems like appropriately risible response, I will award the $10, and Ken has just generously added 5 because he said 15. Or does that make it 25?
Ken added nothing. Ken was negotiating for a higher fee
I see. Okay. If you tell the funny joke, I'll give you 15. Anybody else, it's 10. Special status. So, let's get started. And I'm going to use your book, and I'm going to use a case that's in your book. I don't know how well you paid attention to it, but I kind of like it as a model contracts case ethics decision. But before we get there, let's try this. Contracts. God, you had a whole bunch of chapters on contracts in your book, didn't you? Contracts. Well, you know what? It turns out contracts is really the heart, the center of all economic activity. Think about this. Products, services, real property, personal property, intangible personal property, employment contracts, you name it, it's here. It's in contracts. Tangible stuff. Services. Personal property. Oh my God. Big time. Bonds, stocks. How about those CDOs? You want some CDOs? They're cheap. Your annuities. Thinking about retirement yet? Well, soon enough, soon enough. Real property. You want to buy a house? You better have a contract. You want a mortgage interest? You better have a contract. Employment. Unless you want to be an employee at will, you might have heard that phrase, you better have a contract. Notice public policy puts certain limitations on contracts. We talk about freedom, but there are limitations, right? I once had a friend, was a former student at Western Carolina, and I asked him, now, if you could, if society allowed you, would you like to have a slave? And he said, being a real free-spirited guy, why just one? It's actually illegal, although, as you read Nick Kristof and others throughout the world and even in this country, there are conditions which approach involuntary servitude, if not slavery. Okay, here's my Google image bridge over the Mississippi. This is all about the bridge over the Mississippi and Sam Colt. And so I'm going to have to read to you because I know you didn't come in here reading this. Here is the case. Sam Colt is a sales representative working for Midwest Hardware. And Midwest Hardware makes nuts and bolts, a few other things, but it's all about the bolts here. Sam wants to make a big sale to a construction firm that's building a new bridge across the mighty Mississippi near St. Louis. Good idea. Let's have a bridge. The bolts made by his company, Midwest Hardware, have a 3% defect rate. This is straight out of your text, page 149, or page 153, I think it is. 3% defect rate. This is generally acceptable in the industry, and it makes them unsuitable, however, for use in certain kinds of projects. Oops. Such as those that may be subject to sudden, severe stress, as in an earthquake. They don't have earthquakes in Missouri, do they? The new bridge will be located near the New Madrid fault line, the source of the U.S. greatest earthquake back in 1811. As Anita Cava sometimes says, who knew? I guess if you live in St. Louis, you do. The epicenter of the earthquake caused extensive damage, altered the flow of the Mississippi, less than 200 miles away from the site of the new bridge. Earthquake experts. The facts here are very important, so, get all this. Earthquake experts say 50% chance that an earthquake with a magnitude greater than 7 on the Richter scale will occur somewhere along this fault by the year 2020. So we're 10 years away from a 50% likelihood. Bridge construction, they say, is not regulated by earthquake codes. What does that mean? The contractor is not likely to require earthquake-resistant bolts in the bridge because no government inspector will require them. If Sam wins the sale, he gets a commission of $45,000 on top of his regular salary. Imagine here that he's in his late 20s, he's want to work his way up in the company, this is a big deal, he's got a wife, he's got a couple of kids, he's a young man on the go, he's a business graduate, and here's what happens. He's thinking, if I tell the contractor about the defect rate, we're likely to lose the sale to a competitor. There's a competitor, for example, Mississippi Fasteners, also manufacturing bolts suitable for the bridge project, bolts that have a much lower failure rate under stress, and they're only a little bit more expensive